So this is a very quick follow-up from our previous surround export video. And this is just a few further refinements that might make your life easier. And then there'll be a longer video after this that really goes into an intense setup where you can do multiple stems, surround and stereo and M&E tracks and everything simultaneously. That's way more involved. But this is a very nice value add to the one you've just watched that gives you just 2 extra options and still keep stuff simple. So exactly the same project I have here. Quick reminder, I've got my DX, FX, and MX tracks. They go to my DX, FX, and MX groups. These 3 groups, these are surround groups. They go to my surround submaster, and the surround submaster goes to my 5.1 out. And in your previous approach, you would have to change your stereo out to the main mix, and you would have to change your surround submix, the submaster, to stereo out before doing your stereo export or fold down, which is easy enough, but there's a slightly easier way that involves a few extra steps. So have a look at this. By default, when you open the channel settings, the edit channel settings, the E button of any channel, so I'm opening it for the submaster, this is what you see. And this gives you a lot of options, but there's 2 things that's hidden. If you click on this cog, not the further right one, this one sets up the menu bar over there. The second to the right one, this gives you 2 extra parts to this window. And I'm going to enable direct routing, which is the interesting one here. Now you can see my submaster goes to 5.1 out. What direct routing does is it lets you add 7 additional direct outputs from any group or track, and it goes to those places simultaneously. Now you have to do it here, because if you just go to the output of your track over here, let's close this window, go to my submaster, here you can just choose one thing at a time. But if you go to the channel settings and you add direct routing, you can then add your stereo output there. And you can see it's not colored in, it's grayed out, so it's not going to go there yet. So I'm also selecting that. If for some reason only one wants to select at the same time, which I don't have here, hold in Shift to select the other one as well. Now this direct routing is going to 5.1 and stereo out. And I don't have the sound recording now, but you should be able to see with meters, if I open this, if I play my Blitztone here, have a look at the stereo out and the surround out. You can see now sound is flowing to both of those outputs thanks to this direct out. And this means that when you export your mix down, or render, or bounce, whatever you want to call it, now if you use single over here, you can choose either the stereo or the surround output. But if you choose multiple, this allows you to simultaneously take stereo out and 5.1 out, and you can choose all of your stems at the same time. This will export 5 different files with one click, which is really, really convenient. Now remember, if you want to do this, so go and look at how it names it. You type your master kind of name in there, but if you click on this cog, it gives you a nice batch naming convention. I'm going to clear them all, and we're going to start with a name. That's the one that you type in, and then you can add other stuff. So you can have your channel name, which is enough for me here. You can have lots of other stuff in here, project name, a sequential counter, but for now it'll be easy enough if we've got a name with a channel name, and that channel name will export these names. So you can clearly see it's going to be stereo out, 5.1 out, and then our group, 3 group tracks that's going to export. And there you go. Once you hit export on this, it's going to export all of them quite fast, and you'll have all the separate files. So that's already a nice value add. The other thing I want to show you is, at the moment, I just have my DX, FX, MX. These are actually quite stupidly mono files, which probably won't be the case for MX at least, but I'll show you in my more advanced project how that can work out in a more intense setup. But one thing I haven't showed you yet here is how to deal with an LFE track if you want to use stems like this. So previously, when we spoke about the LFE, you would take the LFE, let me create one. I'm adding an audio track. This is mono. It is our low frequency enhancement or effects. It's mono, and it's going to the 5.1 out. I'm going to keep it like that for now. Let's leave it gray. And this one would then rather be routing to the entire file, but on out, you would route it directly to the LFE. Now that's fine on a very simple setup when you just have your tracks going to your output. But now if I wanted to route this is an effect, so it wants to go to my effects stem. I route it to effects, but now it goes to the entire effects stem. And if I open the channel routing, I could fiddle around with a panner and send this to the LFE and mute other speakers, but that's really clumsy, and that's not how we want to set up LFE tracks. So the best thing is to have this go directly just to the LFE part of our FX stem. But that means you have to change the setting, because as you can see, it only gives you the group tracks as individual entries here. So if you go back to F4 or your audio connections, and if I go to my groups here, you see there's my 4 groups. And if I click on effects and right click, it allows me to add various child buses, which is really useful if you want to do alternative exports as well. But for now, I'm just going to add all the mono child buses. And now you'll see if I go back to my LFE track, rather than just having the group effects show up as a single name, I can route directly to the LFE component of the FX group track. So now it will route correctly, it will export as part of this group, the stem, and it will export as part of your master export.